Hi, and welcome to Sergeant Parsons' channel. In this episode, we're going to discuss packing a backpack and choosing a backpack. There are three different types of backpacks that we're going to discuss in this episode: external frames, internal frames, and frameless. We'll only cover frameless a little bit because they're pretty much useless unless you're just going to school or to work. Any type of survival situation, you will want either an external or internal frame backpack, depending on what your intentions are. This is an example of an external frame backpack. We can see that the frame is on the outside. It's hard, it's rugged. Some of them come in metal, some of them come in plastic. The external frame is on the outside. Obviously, by the name, it's hard, it's rugged, it's inflexible. Now, these have the largest capacities, not necessarily the largest pack size. So the pack size is generally smaller than what you would get with an internal frame, but the larger capacity comes from the fact that you can tie things off to the outside of these. They're generally made for that. And you can also lash things to the frame. They're highly customizable, and they have very effective weight distribution. So you can see that there are pouches on both sides, pockets on both sides, so that way if you put a water bottle in here, you can put a water bottle in here. That way you have even weight distribution. When you're going over rocky terrain or uneven terrain, you're going to want that weight evenly distributed. Otherwise, it could cause you an injury either to your back, your legs, your knees, your ankles. Now, they are the heaviest, so you're going to expend a lot more energy carrying it. And like I said, they have a smaller pack size, so if you're just planning on using this, you're probably going to need to plan for less gear. This is an example of an internal frame backpack. Notice that there's no external frame. The internal frame comes from a hard plastic piece right here in the back, or a very hard back piece here that rests up against your mid, upper, and lower back. Not just a single piece that comes across here, but it's also got a suspension system on the inside. So if we open it up, we can actually see that there is a suspension system on the inside that keeps things organized here. And back here we can find that hard shell. Now, as you can see, this has a much larger pack size. So I can fit more stuff inside the pack itself. However, unlike what we saw with the external frame, there's not a whole lot of ways to tie things off. So you can see here I've kind of jerry-rigged this thing so that I can have my medical pouch on the outside. I've got my compass here on the inside of my waterproof name ID holder there. Now, these are semi-rugged. This is pretty rough material. This is from Blackhawk. They conform to the body, so it's not necessarily as rough as the frame, the external frame, but you can see it's kind of flimsy, so it's got a little bit of give, and it'll conform to your body. And it also has effective weight distribution because the suspension system inside kind of forces you to keep things organized. They have very poor back ventilation, so when you're wearing it for long periods of time, you can start to get sweat on your back, which can also lead to sores and other discomforts. It's less customizable, like I said, but they should have compression straps like this so that when everything is in there, you can close it like this, put some weight on it, and compress it down and pull it as close to your body as possible. That's what you really want to do. The third type of backpack is a frameless backpack. These I would not recommend using unless you're just going short distances. Here we have an example of a frameless backpack. The material is not very durable. It has a very low capacity. And the back has no support. There's no frame, internal or external. It's just all flimsy. You can bend it. So it's not going to give you very much support, and it's not going to be able to hold very much weight. You can also see that any of the pouches are not necessarily very secure, and you can't really customize it. There isn't a whole lot on here that you can use to attach additional things to. Before we can start packing our backpack, we have to determine what goes in it. In order to determine what goes in it, we have to determine what we're going to be doing with it. In my case, I'm going to go on an extended weekend hunting trip. And here are the things that I would take with me. We always have to keep safety in mind. So the first thing on my list is a medical pack. Inside of this medical pack, I have cold compresses, ACE bandages, wound dressings. I also have some liquid bandage, some water purification, and a bar of soap for washing my hands. There's antiseptics, some painkillers such as ibuprofen, and even some condoms. Condoms can be very useful. With a little extra room in there, I'm also adding in some repair parts for my hunting rifle and some tools if I need to make any repairs. You can also see that there's two other things here. One of these is a cup that expands out and it can be used to heat and boil water. I really like this. You can hook it onto something and just go about your business. Pull it out when you need it. The other thing is a flint and steel. This is extremely important if you plan on needing to start a fire. Even if you don't plan on needing to start a fire, assume that you'll need to start a fire at some point. And we can go over how to use a flint and steel properly in another video. I also have a poncho that is camouflage for the right season where I'm going to be going. I have a tent in case I need to sleep in inclement weather. It's also orange in case it needs to be used as a safety device. And I have a thermal blanket, a space blanket, that can be used for signaling or for keeping warm at night. Here I have a selection of meals ready to eat style foods that are preserved. Add some water and heat them up and they are good to go. These are really good. I use them all the time. I'm also going to be taking a water bladder, sometimes called a camelback, that I can use for hydration and storing water while I'm on the move. Since it's an extended stay, we want to make sure that we have enough undergarments to change out if some of them get messed up. Socks are very important. If your feet get wet and stay wet, it can lead to serious health problems. Wet underwear can also lead to chafing. So we want to make sure that we have enough underwear, socks, and t-shirts to change out in so that we can maintain proper health. Check out my other video on how to fold undergarments military style to see how you can save space in your pack. I'm also going to be taking camo that is appropriate for the weather and the season and the terrain, so that way I can blend in properly. I'll also be taking a load-bearing vest. We also call them LBVs. On this vest, I'll have different compartments. I have an extra magazine for my sidearm. I have a cleaning kit for my rifle and the pistol. I also have pouches that are going to hold a monocular for spotting, a knife sharpener, and a thermal scope for spotting at night. I'll also have one magazine for my hunting rifle. That's all you really need if you're going to go hunting. You shouldn't need more than 30 rounds if you're just going hunting for a weekend. The reason I want to use a load-bearing vest is because I don't want to be carrying my pack around with me all the time. I probably want to leave it at camp and only carry with me what I need while I'm hunting. Before we move forward with actually packing the bag, we're going to go over the basics of weight distribution within the bag. On the left, we see an illustration of an external frame backpack, and on the right, we see an internal frame backpack. The colors look fairly similar, but there is a slight difference in where some of that is. First thing we're going to look at is an external frame backpack, and we can see that this frame is on the outside of the bag and we can tie things to it. The heaviest stuff is going to go towards the middle of the pack and closest to your back. This is going to enable you to maintain a center of gravity close to your body so that you're not being pulled backwards by the weight of the bag. This will cause you to lean forward and may cause you back problems if the heavy stuff is on the outside of the bag. The lighter stuff is going to be packed up top, so that way you're not having heavy or medium weight stuff pulling you backwards. And third is the medium weight stuff. We want to put that on the bottom so that it's supported by our hips. Next, we're going to go over an internal frame backpack. The internal frame you're not going to see on the outside. It's actually on the inside and is going to be somewhat malleable. Again, the heavy stuff is going to go closest to your body, but it's going to go a little bit lower in the bag, closer to right above your waistline, right above your hips. So that way this rests on your hips instead of pulling you backwards. The light stuff again goes on top, just like the other bag, for the same reason, so that it doesn't pull you backwards. And the medium stuff goes on the bottom. for the same reasons. So here you can again see the difference in where that heavy stuff is based on the bag type. We want the heavier stuff higher on the external frame because the frame itself supports that weight and distributes it to our hips. Whereas with the internal frame, we need to locate the heavier stuff so that it rests on our hips. So now you might be wondering, how do I know which category my item falls under? Well, to be honest, it all depends. It's a matter of relativity. Your heaviest items are going to be considered heavy and your lightest items are going to be considered light. Everything in between is your medium. So let's look at what I have planned for packing and see what category those fall under. But first, there are a couple caveats to the sectioning. The lightweight section should include items that you regularly and readily need available while you're moving with the backpack. The middleweight section should include items you probably will not need while moving around. The heavyweight section should include items that you do not require frequent access to while moving. My heavyweight section items are going to be my medical kit with my fire starter and my cup in it, my stuff for shelter. I'm only going to need that when I stop, and my cordage, my paracord, I'm only going to need when I stop. My medium weight items, I'm going to put my camouflage and my food. I'm not going to need those till I get out there and I'm ready to hunt. So I'm going to pack those in the medium weight section because I'm probably not going to need them while I'm actually moving around. I'll take them out when I set up camp. My lightweight items and frequently used items are going to be my undergarments, my poncho. I have some bear spray, compass, earplugs, some cleaning cloths, and a solar charger. Now the solar charger would normally go into the heavyweight section, but this one happens to have a flashlight, and I'm probably going to need that, so I'm putting that in the lightweight and frequently used section. Alright folks, and there you have it. That's pretty much all of it. But you'll notice that I didn't pack everything that was on my list. And there's a reason why. Because when I'm walking through the woods, I may need access to my sidearm or to this bear spray. You never know what's actually going to happen out there or what's coming to get you. So take some bear spray, take a sidearm if you're going hunting. I also kept out my vest, my load-bearing vest. That's going to give me access to my compass and other things that I'll need, such as my knife sharpener, my knife, extra magazines, etc. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe, and there's more videos to come.